Hi, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. So, um, home today, just relaxing. Other than, like I said, what happened to me earlier in the New York Predator Department, engaging in their sirens and the remote monitoring and home surveillance. And like I said, I like to do my research. I like to try to understand the mindset of the people that are engaged in the cognitive warfare, the psychological operations, the cult mindset, particularly the destructive cult mindset, including you should understand that people within your family will have this sort of mindset, particularly people who have a religious belief are more prone to having these sorts of psychological mindset, right? These personalities, because again, it is a belief system, and the elites, those in power, those who cause pain in people's lives, those who subject people to poverty, those who engage in non-consensual human experimentation, those on the predator police departments across America, how they are also conditioned with a certain mindset, right? So this video is going to talk about the sadist mindset, all right? And particularly me being a TI, particularly how uh, when, particularly how they use women in targeting me, honey traps, and particularly when they start attacking me severely, extremely, when they do these blitz, how you have women they'll have women walk past me and walk towards me, like smiling, like it's funny, right? And I think, if you guys watch my videos for how many years now, you'll hear me say that. Like, you hear me say, like, they think that shit is funny. They'll walk past me, walk towards me and start smiling, or, they have like this big smile on their face or what have you, right? Now, but it's interesting how I found this article, right? This is from a a therapy facility, right? And this is their website. And it's interesting because, like I said, there are other people that understand certain aspects of what's going on, right? Now, this article, right, is called Understanding Sadistic Behavior in New York City, NYC, recognizing the sign. Excuse me. Ooh, just had to sneeze here. Anyhow, recognizing the sign and seeking help. But forget about the seeking help part, because these people will not seek help because they think that their behavior towards this TI and what it is that they do is perfectly fine. Okay? And so what you'll have is that people who are unhappy with their life, right? And because, again, they're religious and they think that, you know, God is going, everything they pray for, God is going to give to them, even though the majority of people who pray, their prayers don't come true. Their prayers are not answered. I have to keep pausing the recording because I'm having a sneezing fit. You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, one of the hold on a sec. All right, so one of the dark personalities that we don't talk about a lot is the sadist personality, the sadistic personality. Now, talked about at times how Pam would start arguments with me, particularly when she has a date. So she has to pick a fight with me, right? You know, she does that, and I said to myself, why did she keep doing that? Everything would be fine, cool. All of a sudden, she hears sirens, and then she'll go off, right? You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, I just said to myself, you know what? I need to understand the people who are around me, their mindset, because they don't even understand their mindset. I mean, Pam somewhat understand her mindset because she tells me all the time. She's like, I have a dark personality, but I never really knew what she meant. Okay. She's like, when I get angry, I go dark. I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't say shit like that. If I get angry, I get angry. It ain't no. I don't say I go dark or I go super dark or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Those type of thoughts don't come into my mind. But I want you guys to understand how prevalent this mindset is within society. And it's not just here in New York City, right? It's all over. Because America breeds these sorts of personality. You understand? And when we look at each other, we blame each other for these things without understanding that there are people in power, people in position of authority who create personalities within the society, right? If you look at, go Google the term uh, psychological nudging, and you will see that every one of us is manipulated. All right, so I have to pause the video. I was just sneezing too much, so now let's just get back to it. You guys can tell at night in my bedroom, which again this started happening within probably over the last year, where I get up in the morning. Every morning I get up and I have a sneezing fit. Okay, and so I have to get a air purifier because there's something in the air that's constantly uh, I'm sneezing. Right, particularly when I get up in the morning, and I mean I'm sneezing and sneezing and sneezing at times, but it's like one after the next, one after this, one after the next, until I leave. Okay, so anyhow, as I was saying, so there's certain things that will happen. I may see something, and then it may lead me to something else. Like for example, I was watching the Batgirl series. I think I saw what was I? It was a little. It was a short on YouTube I was watching, and I was like, oh, I remember watching the first season, at least part of the first season of Batgirl. Right, this was years ago. But anyhow, so I just been binge watching it for the day, and you have this character in there called Alice. She's she was brainwashed, manipulated as a child, and they really like screwed with her mind. So understanding how her personality developed, one of the things that was fascinating is that when she was talking to her dad about what was happening, what had happened to her, her dad realized that he said, so they brainwashed you and they took away your ability to love, right? And when I hear these things, remember, art reflects life, and life reflects art. All right. When you look at the behavior of black people, black men and black women, there's no love there. The black families, there's no love there. All right. So what they've done is condition us, particularly our women, so that there's no love there except for what I can get from you. All right. Now, and I want you to understand that this is a common thing. All right. See, no, most people don't even think about these so-called psychological think tanks, right? Like the APA, the American Psych, is it? Yeah, the American Psychologist Association, our Psychiatrist Association, right? They're responsible for the DSM, right, manual. Okay, and like I said, you go on Google, you will Google psychological nudging, and I try to find article on that. Okay, all right, but let me just read this article. All right, again, understanding sadistic behavior in New York City, recognizing signs and seeking help. Most sadists don't seek help. Okay, most people who have really who are of the dark triad personality types, or who are of the dark personality traits, they don't seek help. They they rarely do. All right, so sadistic behavior, where an individual derives pleasure from inflicting, as I said, pleasure. The New York Police Department using their sirens. So let me read it over again. Sadistic behavior, where an individual derives pleasure from inflicting pain or discomfort on others can manifest in different ways, from emotional manipulation to physical cruelty. In a fast paced and competitive environment like New York City, these tendencies can easily be overlooked or misinterpreted as ambition or assertiveness. However, identifying and addressing sadistic behavior in New York City behavior is essential to safeguarding mental health and fostering healthier relationships. Right? This blog will explore what it means to be a sadist, how to recognize the signs of sadistic behavior in New York City, and how individuals can seek help through professional online therapy service like those offered by Uncover Mental Health Counseling. Right? So this is a counseling service. So what is a sadist in NYC? A sadist is someone who gains pleasure or satisfaction from causing pain, suffering, or humiliation to others. Now, I just read that. Okay, if you guys look all across America, I talk about the here in New York City, New York Predators Department. We see how these officers will, you know, they drive around in gangs, right? They have tattoos, gang tattoos. They're part of a clique, right? They will plan drugs in innocent black men and Hispanic men vehicles. They'll plant drugs on them. Okay, they will assault them. All right. So, however, sadism exists on a spectrum. Mild, everyday sadistic behavior in New York City can occur in socially acceptable forms, such as competitiveness in work or play. At the most severe end, sadistic personality disorder is a clinical condition where cruelty and dominance over others define a person's interaction. When I talk about the dark triads, those within the high ups, those in positions of power, okay, these are the severe personality types of the sadistic personality disorder, as well as the dark triad personality disorder. Okay? All right, so it was interaction. Okay, recognizing the signs of a sadistic woman in New York, and I was so surprised that this article actually mentioned women, because women are more prone to be to have the sadistic personality disorder, or are more sadistic personality traits. Okay, it's like you have the mean girls, who seek pleasure from bullying other girls, right? They usually form a gang or a clique. Okay, so recognizing the signs of a sadistic woman in New York City is crucial, as these individuals often show a lack of empathy, enjoy the power they wield over others, and can harm others physically or emotionally without remorse. In New York City highly competitive environment, signs of a sadistic woman in New York City may take on specific forms related to the city's unique social dynamics. For instance, individuals may use manipulation or humiliation to get ahead in professional or social circles. Understanding these behavior in the context of the fast-paced New York City lifestyle can help recognize when someone is displaying sadistic tendencies or even sadistic psychopaths in New York City behavior. The types of sadistic behavior. Sadism can appear in various forms. Understanding these different manifestations can help in identifying when someone might be exhibiting sadistic behavior in NYC, or in determining the best course of action to address it. 1. Everyday sadism. Everyday sadism refers to people who may enjoy causing discomfort or manipulating others, but are not clinically diagnosed with sadistic personality disorder in New York City, in NYC. They may make hurtful jokes at others' expense, take pleasure in others' failure, dominate or manipulate in relationship to feel in control. This type of sadism can be subtle and may be mistaken for assertiveness or ambition, especially in a fast paced city like New York City, NYC. 2. Clinical sadistic personality disorder. In contrast, sadistic personality disorder in NYC involve more serious behavior where causing pain is a core aspect of the individual's identity. Common signs include enjoying humiliating others, particularly in public or group settings. That's what they do to us as TIs, right? I talk about the perps, and I talk about the perps out there, and I talk about the Negropean zombies. These are the sadistic personality types. Okay? Engaging in abusive relationship where they control and dominate others, manipulating others with no regards for their feelings or well-being, displaying a lack of empathy or remorse for the harm they cause. These individuals are often highly manipulative and can be difficult to confront without professional intervention. 3. Sadistic psychopaths in New York City, NYC. At the extreme end, some individuals may be classified as sadistic psychopaths in NYC. These people exhibit not only sadistic tendencies but also characteristics of psychopathy, such as complete lack of empathy or emotional attachment to others, enjoyment in causing severe emotional or physical harm, manipulative, often charming behavior to mask their cruelty. Psychopaths with sadistic traits are rare but extremely dangerous. Recognizing these individuals early is the key to preventing harm. Recognizing the signs of sadistic behavior, identifying sadistic tendencies is the first step in addressing these harmful behavior. Here are some common signs of sadistic personality disorder in NYC and other sadistic behavior to watch out for. 1. Taking pleasure in others' pain. A common trait of sadistic individuals is that they derive enjoyment from seeking others in discomfort. This can range from emotional pain, such as public humiliation or insults, to physical harm. Now, the most severe sadistic personality traits, you will find them in law enforcement. You'll find them in government agencies like the CIA, the NSA, any government agencies or private agencies that have to deal with some sort of authoritative position, right? Where they can control the outcome because of the resources they can have. They can manipulate others, right? For whatever their agenda is, right? It's just like when I talk about Joseph Zoom, in which you have uh, the so-called secret police, the Stasis, right? Engaging in what is called the decomposition of human being or a group of people, basically to destroy their lives. And they seek pleasure in it. They get pleasure from it. Even if it's didn't start out as such, they eventually seek pleasure. And then they recruit others within the society who themselves are given false sense of power and authority. And so with no accountability, they start to create these types of personality within people within the society, including family members who engage in these sort of behaviors, okay, who are part of the Zoom program, right? But in our case as TIs in America, it's the targeted individual program. Okay, 2. Control and domination. Sadistic individuals often have an overwhelming need to control and dominate others in relationship. They may manipulate their partners, friends, or colleagues to maintain power and control. 3. Lack of empathy. A major hallmark of sadism is a lack of empathy. These individuals do not feel remorse or guilt for the harm they cause. Indeed, they rationalize their behavior or blame the victim. Or what they'll do is what is called a false equivalency. They do harm to you and then they manipulate you, right? So that you may say something or do something back, and then they feel that, okay, well, now we're equal, right? This is the sick mindset, right? It's called creating false equivalency. 4. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is common in everyday sadism. Sadistic individuals may gaslight others, manipulate situations to their advantage, or use their influence to humiliate or dominate. 5. Enjoyment in humiliating others. Humiliation, particularly in front of an audience, is a common tactic used by sadists. They may make hurtful jokes, insult others, or exploit someone's vulnerability to cause embarrassment. 6. Pattern of abusive relationship. Sadistic individuals often find themselves in abusive relationships either as the abuser or seeking out partners who are more easily controlled. This behavior is particularly common in individuals with sadistic personality disorder in NYC. The psychological impact of sadistic behavior on victims. Sadistic behavior in NYC doesn't only harm the person exhibiting it, it deeply affects the victims as well. Being in a relationship or proximity of a sadistic individual can lead to long-term psychological damage. Victims may experience anxiety and chronic stress. Talk about using stress as a weapon. Right? Victims of sadistic behavior are often in a constant state of fear or anxiety, anticipating the next instance of humiliation or control. Anxiety therapy can help in managing these overwhelming feelings. But what I say is that me as a target, like I said, I will be no longer displaying the flight phenomenon. Okay, from going forward, it will be the fight phenomenon. Right? That's the only phenomenon that I'm going to condition my mind to engage in. Okay? Low self-esteem. Constantly being belittled or controlled can lead to a significant drop in self-esteem. Victims often feel powerless and question their self-worth, making them more vulnerable to further manipulation. 3. Depression. Many victims develop depression, which may require intervention from a therapist for depression. The emotional toll of living with or around a sadist can be draining and lead to feelings of hopelessness or despair. 4. Emotional trauma. In severe cases, victims may experience long-term emotional trauma similar to post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). Emotional and psychological scars can remain long after the sadistic relationships end. 5. Difficulty in forming healthy relationships. Individuals who have been subjected to sadistic behavior may struggle to trust others or form healthy, supportive relationships. Relationship therapy is often necessary to rebuild trust and communication and skills. Me, I just look, I'll confront. I will confront, and we're going to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, then hey, that's on you. But I'm going to confront you and I'm going to talk about it, particularly if you're within my circle. Okay? And that's what I think victims need to do, whether they be family members or have you. And we know that as a victim and as a victim of being the target individual, when you confront family members, the first thing they do is call you crazy. That's the first thing they do. That is their way of plausible deniability. Okay? That is their way of not wanting to be held responsible for what they've done to you or what they have helped participate in doing to you. All right? Substance abuse and addiction. Victims of sadistic behavior may turn to substances like alcohol or drugs as a way to cope with the emotional pain. Addiction can become a major issue if the underlying trauma is not addressed. Why sadistic behavior can thrive in New York City and NYC. New York City fast-paced, competitive, and sometimes impersonal nature can create an environment where signs of a sadistic woman in New York City are more visible to go unchecked. In personal settings, sadistic individuals may rise in position of power through manipulation or emotional cruelty. Socially, people may use domination to control to maintain their status or influence. 1. The pressure of success. NYC is known for its hustle culture, where success is often seen as paramount. In such an environment, individuals with sadistic tendencies may thrive, using their lack of empathy and manipulative skills to get ahead. To isolation in crowded spaces. Despite being surrounded by millions of people, NYC can be isolating. This sense of isolation makes it harder for victims to seek help or realize that they are being mistreated. No, you don't not realize that you're being mistreated. If it's in your face, it's going to be in your face. What people do is again because they want to belong, so they tend to ignore it at the peril of their health, right? Whether it be their mental health or their physical health. And so it's like I said, it's not like they don't realize it. They realize it. They just want to be part of something so bad that they're willing to sacrifice their health, right? Whether it be physical health, sexual health, mental health, okay, health of family, health of the children, in order to be part of something that really they shouldn't be because they're not wanted. So they tend to overinflate themselves and their ego and to put themselves where they don't want, where they're not wanted. All right, Negropeans, you hear me, Negropeans. Anyway, three heightens. I said Negropeans. Yeah, I hear the sirens. Yeah, because that's who most black people are in America. Negropeans. Again, it's not my terminology, right? Dr. Umar Johnson said it, but again, I use it because in the book, uh, the golden stool, that's what Europeans said that they were going to do to us, which was to transplant the minds of the African and give them a European mind. Okay? Heightened stress and mental health issues. The stress of living in New York, in NYC, coupled with common mental health conditions like ADHD, stress, and anxiety, can sometimes exacerbate sadistic behavior. People under extreme stress may not recognize or address their harmful tendencies. And again, it shows you how you can be manipulated. And again, it's all part of cognitive warfare. Okay? Now, again, like I said, we are told that, we are responsible for our actions, right? This is what they tell us. Okay? Whether it be the church or what have you, but then they'll tell you that God is in control of everything. But if God is in control and God can control you, then you're not in control of your own action, right? It's God. But then they say, okay, there's free will, right? But the thing is that there is no free will, right? Advertisers use psychological manipulation to condition us to become addicted to buying stuff, right? And we want to, for example, for black people, we understand why black people are the way that we are sometimes, how we act when it comes to wearing luxury items, right? Because we know that we're never going to be able to save up enough. The vast majority of black people, we're never going to be save up enough to where we can close that wealth gap. So we tend to want to look wealthy instead of being wealthy because we know that the deck is stacked against us. And you hear a lot of a lot of economists will tell you there's no way black people can save their way out of the wealth gap. This is why reparation is important for black people. What I'm saying? So you got to understand these things. Okay? All right. So how to address and treat it. Well, I'm not going to go into all of that. You guys can go read the rest of this stuff. It's just Google the do a search for the name. I should say Google, but there's many other search sites out there. Understand this is the Siberia NYC, recognizing the signs and seeking help. Okay, so just wanted to talk about this because again, the more that I research, when I look at certain things, like I said, I follow the guidance of my ancestors who will show me certain things, and the good people out there who are trying to understand what's going on or who understand what's going on, but they may not be able to do. Can't say, I don't want to say anything about it, but they can't do enough to where this program will stop. Okay, so like I said, I always appreciate those people. I always appreciate other TIs who, try to expose what's going on. And even if you're not trying to expose what's going on as a TI, I appreciate the fact that at least you do talk about it amongst other TIs to make them understand and know that they're not the only one that's going through this. So I understand that, right? But like I said, it is my purpose to expose everything that they do. All right, and I don't care what they want to label me, right? Because ultimately, those in positions of power who have the dark triad personality traits, but they themselves don't want to be labeled as such, society's going to start to look at them as such. All right? And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.